Hello again, this is Mrs. Hasso, and for this one, video is going to be for 6.6, assignment 2. So on the assignment 2, the directions are to solve the system of equation using the elimination method. So the elimination method does have 4 steps as well as the substitution. So let's go ahead and look at those. So the first step is to choose a variable with the same coefficient to eliminate. So the whole point is that you only want to be left with one variable, either the x or the y. So step 1 is which one am I going to get rid of first? Step 2 is that if the coefficients are different, you're going to make them opposite numbers by multiplying. So if you have 5x and 5x, then you want to make one negative. But if you have something totally different, as you will see in one of the examples, you're going to have to choose a number to multiply it to get the same coefficient. Step 3 then is once you do that, you're going to combine the equations. When you combine the equations, you're going to eliminate those opposite coefficients and you're going to be left with one variable. Once you do that, you're going to substitute that variable and solve for the remaining variable. So if you solved for x, you're going to substitute that x value that you got and solve for y. So let's go ahead and look at the first example here. This one's blank. The one that's given to you is already done for you. And I did write the steps down on the side so you can look at them. So first of all, first step is to choose a variable with the same coefficient to eliminate. So if I look at the two equations that are given, I do notice that y has a coefficient of 1, and so does the second equation have a coefficient of 1. This one has a coefficient of 9, and this coefficient is 1. So I do want to use the y values in this case, since they are the same coefficient. Once I have that, I'm going to go on to step 2, which is to make the coefficients opposite. So right now, they are not opposite. So your job is to multiply one of the equations to make it opposite. And so what's the opposite of 1? It's negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just multiply the second equation by negative 1. And so that will make the the coefficient the opposite of a positive 1. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply negative 1 to each term in that equation. I can't just multiply the y value. I have to multiply each term in the equation by negative 1. So negative 1 times y gives me negative y, and if you notice, that makes them opposite. That's what I want. I want to do that so I can eliminate the y value. Negative 1 times x will give me negative x, and then negative 1 times positive 1 will give me negative 1. Okay, once I do that, I can move on to the third step, which is to combine the equations. The first part is to combine the equations. So I'm going to go ahead and combine each term with the common term. So y minus y is going to give me 0. 9x minus x gives me 8x. And then negative 23 minus 1 gives me negative 24. So again, I'm combining each term, each common term. Okay, once I do that, I'm going to move on to the second step, the second part of that third step, which is to solve for the remaining variable. And so the remaining variable for this equation is x. So I'm going to solve it by moving the constant over by using inverse operation. And then dividing by the coefficient to give me x equals 3. So once you find one of the terms, one of the variables, which is x in this case, I'm gonna go to step 4, which is to substitute to solve for the remaining variable. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And I can use either equation. In this case, I'm gonna use y equals x plus 1. And I'm gonna substitute the x value for 3, which is what we said x was equal to. And so my value of y is 4. Okay, so my system of equation that I just solved is 3, 4, which means it is one solution. Okay, let's go ahead and look at example 2. Example 2 here, if you notice on the two equations, you have x minus 3y equals 2 and 4x plus 7y equals 27. If you notice that neither one have the same coefficient to eliminate. So I have 1x and 4x, coefficients are not the same. And then you have -3 and +7 for the coefficients of the y. So those are not the same. So your job is to go ahead and either use the x value to get the same coefficient or the 3. I'm going to choose the x, the 1x, to go ahead and get to the same or opposite coefficient of the second equation. So if I look at number 2, step 2, make coefficients opposite by multiplying the equation. So if I'm going to use the x values, then I have to, this coefficient has to equal to -4. So how am I going to do that? Well, if I know the coefficient right now is 1, what number can I multiply the 1 by to get the opposite of 4, which is -4? So I'm going to multiply -4. Okay, and so again, you have to multiply that -4 by each term, not just the coefficient that you're trying to get the opposite of, the second equation. So I'm going to have -4 times 1x, that gives me -4x. And then -4 times -3y gives me a +12y. And then -4 times a +2 gives me a -8. So I went ahead and multiplied each term by -4. And then I'm going to go ahead and write my second equation. I did nothing to, I left it alone. And now I notice that I do have a coefficient that is the same and is opposite. So I have a 4, these two have a coefficient of 4, one is negative and one is positive. And so what that is going to do is that's going to help you go to step 3, which is to combine the equation and eliminate one of the variables. So a -4x and a +4x, that is going to eliminate it to give you a 0. And now you have 12y plus 7y, that will give you 19y. And then -8 plus 27, that's going to give you a +19. And then of course you get rid of that coefficient by dividing by 19. And so my y value is equal to 1. Okay, so that is all of step 3. Again, we multiplied by a -4 so that we can get a -4. So that way we can eliminate this variable. And then we went ahead and combined the like terms and we solved for y. Okay, so step 4 now is to substitute to solve for the remaining variable. So now that we found the y value, I'm going to substitute into one of these original equations to get the x value. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the first equation, which was x minus 3y equals 2. And so I'm going to go ahead and substitute. This time I'm going to substitute the y value because that's the first value that I found. And then I'm going to go ahead and solve. So this will give me x, negative 3 times 1 gives me negative 3. And then add 3 to both sides. That's my constant. And then x will equal 2. 2 plus 3 will equal to 5. And so my answer to this system will be 5, 1. Be very careful that you place the x value in the correct point or ordered pair. So x is 5, so that goes first, and then y is 1, so that goes second in the ordered pair. And so again, you have one solution. Okay, so this is how to solve a system of equation using elimination method. Just remember, boys and girls, that on your answers, they will ask you for the ordered pair and whether it is one solution, infinite solution, which means both variables are canceled out and you have them equal to each other. That means there's many solutions, so they are the same line. Or you'll have a no solution, which is where they cancel out and you have 0 equals 2, where they are not equal, where the lines are parallel. Okay, so just remember that they use this graphic organizer to help you, and then of course the examples to help you as well. Thank you very much, boys and girls, and just on behalf of the algebra teachers, we really do miss you, and we hope that you do really well for next year. Make us proud and have a great summer. Thank you.